that you had to be invited?
I've never published a story before. I tried to write one when I was working for my master's in education at USF, and it was a contest at the USF Literary Magazine, and I won. But they never paid me. It was $24 prize, but they never paid me. And so I finally I wrote my first story after Christmas. I was visiting my in-laws in North Dakota, and there was this horrible blizzard Alvin, and I was afraid that we were going to get killed driving up. They have things called whiteouts, which is an intense whiteness, and you can't see the road, and everybody keeps a huge candle in the trunk. And if you drive off the road, you get out the candle and you light it, and it doesn't really keep you warm, but it keeps you warm enough so that you can maybe last through the night. And so I felt sure that everybody got safe. But I was staying in a motel, and I was snowed in for 2 days. It was really great because I got to read all sorts of books and things. But then I wrote a story, and so in the last day or two, I've been sending it into contests. What the poets and writers in the back list content, although it's also online, and you pay $10 and you have a chance of winning a $1,000 prize. So I thought that's pretty good. But I'm doing it not because I think I have any chance of winning, but just to go through the mechanism. I've realized that I should understand what my writers go through and do it through that. Just like I just published my own collection of blog posts on Amazon, and all you do is just upload JPEGs, the pages in JPEGs, and you tell them what kind of cover you want, and you can specify the type. And it was pretty expensive. It costs $11, and there's only one copy because it's just a proof, and so it's not really being published. But it costs $4.50 to have it approved, and $6 to have it sent to me, posted. So that's pretty good, and I have a book. That's really cool.
And maybe this is
really cool.
Everything will go.
Yeah.
I had a question. I was going to a little bit off. I was curious what your duties were when you first started interning at the publishing house, and then now that you've risen the ladder up to assistant editor, what do you do now?
Well, I think Sherril's been kind when she spoke of ladders, but it really is. You kind of are this utility helper, kind of anything that needs to be done. North Atlantic is kind of a small publishing house, so there's 6 editors there, and they do a lot of work. That they put out about 90 books a year between the 6 of them, and so there's a lot of putting together an index, for instance. Is a pretty tedious affair, as you might imagine. It's really a bunch of tedious tasks, as you might imagine, whether it's cleaning up manuscripts or writing summaries for library cataloging or for Amazon or anywhere that I guess a book has to have multiple descriptions, maybe like a 1-sentence description and a paragraph description for different purposes. And so there's a lot of doing that, and I think that's why a lot of publishing houses have rotating internships, because once you're there for a couple months, in that capacity, there's just not much more to learn. You figure it out, and it's not going to behoove the intern to stay really after 3 months, because it's just so competitive. There's usually, I guess, 3, depending on the publishing house, there's a certain cycle. You have 3 seasons, and so once you finish a season, then you just kind of start over with another round of books. And so usually that's kind of the term for an intern is to go through that, and then we want new interns. I was stubborn though, because I wasn't working. I didn't have another job, and there was nothing that I would have preferred to do, and so I just kind of told them that I wasn't leaving, and they could continue to not pay me if they wanted to, but if they felt like they needed to pay me, then they could. And they are paying me now, which is it's a lot better than working for free. And if you're in a situation where you can be persistent, in working for free, I certainly recommend it unless you could get paid, obviously. But I think that if you show people around you that you really want to be involved in what you're doing, you know, it's not something that people can find anywhere. You know, so if you work at what you want to do, you know, you can make it happen. So you might have to, you know, go without money for a little while, but if you really want to do it, then you should, you know. And I don't know, it's worked out for me, so I can say that. But
can I say just something about your boss?
Sure.
I know them for a long time. They were very helpful to me when I was starting out in advice about being a publisher, and they invited me over to their house one night for dinner. We had both gone to Amherst, and Richard had started. Richard and Lindy had started a literary magazine when they were still in college, and their daughter and son were introduced to me. They're very nice kids, and their daughter turned out to be Miranda July, and Richard turned out to be the son of Grossinger's, which is was the classic Catskill Mountain Jewish summer resort where all sorts of great comics of that generation broke in. So, and I published part of Richard's autobiography, a memoir of his days at Grossinger.
And Lindy actually came here and spoke to us last year. And that's how actually, it's through them that I met Evan. So, you see, we're all connected. We're all one.
Well, and that's another thing. Even though you know, I certainly don't have like a full-time job. I mean, I am still an intern. It's kind of a once a week kind of thing. But just because they could see that I was willing to work for free, just because I wanted to be doing it, they have, you know, begun sending me clients, and so they've been really helpful for that. And they introduced me to anybody that they think might be good for me to know, you know. And so, I mean, networking is certainly a large part of it, and I've met a lot of great people who've helped me out through them and through. So even if it had turned out that they didn't pay me directly, they were able to help me out however they could, because I was helping them out, you know. And so that's another thing. You don't really ever know where the money's going to come from, but if you're doing what you need to be doing, it will come from somewhere.
What do you mean by clients?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm working right now with a man who is actually in charge of the estate of Robert Duncan and his partner Jesse. I don't know.
Jess.
Jess.
Jess. And his last name was Collins, but he went by Jess. He was a wonderful painter and collage artist.
Yeah, and so he's putting together a book of interviews and conversations with Robert Duncan, and so.
Do you all know who Robert Duncan is? Well, if not, then you better take Gillian's class called Advanced Poetry Writing in the fall, which is also going to address poetics. And Robert Duncan was a very influential poet, 20th century poet.
So I'm learning a lot about Robert Duncan because I knew nothing pretty much. But basically he's putting together this book, and so I'm helping him format it and basically get it ready for him to hand in to the publisher, you know. So it's kind of light editing, stuff that I learned from interning at North Atlantic, and you know, they knew that I could do it because I've been doing it for them for the last few months, and it's been really helpful, I think, for them, for North Atlantic, and for Mr. Wagstaff, just because they both know, they're both working with somebody who's, you know, been doing this now exactly how they want it done, because North Atlantic's publishing his book. So that's one client. The other was Rob Bresney. I don't know if you guys know. He writes the Free Will Astrology column weekly for SF Weekly, and I was helping him market his book, Pronoia is the Antidote to Paranoia, and it's a great book. You should check it out.
I gotta ask, how do you eat? I honestly, I mean, it sounds like you're not.
Chewing is important. And,